What's up, folks? Going to talk about the action over the weekend. Sorry I'm a little late. I actually went to the card in Long Island, the premiere card, and then I had to get back home and then had to watch the HBO fights just to discuss it. So let's start there actually. Excuse me. Let's start there with HBO. You had Miguel BERCHELT taking on Takashi Miura. I picked him by late KO. I picked BERCHELT by late KO. He won a decision, a unanimous decision instead, and retained his WBC World Super Featherweight or Junior Lightweight title. Right now in some polls, he's number 2. Second ranked at 130 pounds, behind Vasily Lomachenko, and one spot ahead of Ezreal Corrales, who we'll talk about in a second. And you got Gervonta Davis, Francisco Vargas in the mix also. So, Miura, BERCHELT, I should say, he's going to be a tough out. Despite not having the best resume, he's going to be a tough out. Good fighter. You also have some guys a weight class below that are going to target these guys at 130 pounds. You got Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell Jr. So you got Joseph Diaz, Oscar Valdez in the mix. So if things don't happen with them in their particular weight class, which they should, a lot of good names. Don't be shocked if some of those guys move up to take on guys like BERCHELT, guys like Ezreal Corrales. So Corrales dropped. It was kind of like a sweeping counter left hand. He dropped Miura in the first round and caught Miura with a good shot that wobbled him, staggered him in the 8th round, and also got Miura made sure he paid him back with a low blow though to kind of buy himself some time. And speaking of buying time, between rounds, I think it was 6 and 7 or 7 and 8, as the clock ticked down in the in-between rounds, we ready for action, and the referee decides somehow that his bow tie wasn't properly fastened, so they take an extra, who knows how long, half minute maybe not that long, but to fix his wardrobe. And you can't do that. You can't stop the clock. Take the bow tie off and let these guys continue to go to work. You can't have this extra time because you want to look good. No, it doesn't work that way. And I didn't like that. I think that at the least a warning should be issued. I think it was Raul Caez maybe, but you can't have that. Not especially in a title fight. And so congratulations to young man Miguel BERCHELT. Takashi Miura, he's had his fair share of wars, but he's still game, and I think he'll be back. both these guys fought Francisco Vargas, and while BERCHELT beat Vargas, Miura got stopped late, but he was winning the fight. So just tough luck guy, but a hard-nosed guy. And certainly for any of these young guys coming up, he would be a superb test for them. And another super featherweight or junior lightweight title fight. Champion JEZREEL Corrales moved to 22-1 with a very debatable majority decision victory over Robinson Castellanos. The scores in that bout were 94-94 and then 94-93 and a grossly off the mark 96-92 for Corrales. Now, it's the second questionable decision in a row for Corrales, as there was some who thought he lost in his last outing. He took on Takashi Ushimaya, and Ushiyama they actually fought twice. He stopped Ushiyama the first time and then defended his it's the WBA World Super Featherweight or Junior Lightweight title. So it's the WBA World Super Featherweight title. And when he fought Ushiyama the second time, it was close. So we're going to look at JEZREEL Corrales and start to call him the Jermaine Taylor of boxing with these questionable decisions. But nonetheless, Corrales, he's the guy with speed. He's got some pop. He's young at age 26. But there seems to be something missing. And everyone's talking about what's next for him. I look at it a different way. I think Castellanos deserves a rematch. Despite people talking about what's next. I really like to see him get another shot. I mean, he's a hard-working guy. Hard luck guy too. And he's coming off of a victory over Yuriorkis Gamboa. Gamboa couldn't answer the bell, aka quit. And I like to see him get another shot because he was getting to Corrales, who used some headbutts to his advantage. The other problem I have with this fight is I don't think it should have been stopped. If you look at where the damage was done, you can go on and you can fight like that. I think some shenanigans were going on, and well, hey, that's boxing, right? I mean, I don't like the way that ended, and I'll leave it there. So I look for Corrales to be targeted by more guys than BERCHELT, or maybe he and BERCHELT just need to go into a unification bout. Stay tuned. And also that evening was a fight between SULLY Barrera, Sullivan Barrera, as he and one more thing, Corrales got dropped a couple of times in that fight, and Castellanos got dropped also. The headbutt, where the headbutt occurred, I ain't buying it. Anyway, SULLY Barrera. I'm telling you, this kid has improved under new tutelage. Sullivan survived an early knockdown. There's nothing new to this. That just seems to be his thing. He goes down early, and he went on to take Joe Smith Jr. to school en route to a unanimous decision victory. Barrera moves to 20 wins, 1 loss, and although I like to see him get a rematch with Andre Ward, he won't. But I'd really like to see this new version. I mean, he's hot right now, and speaking of Andre Ward, what's up with Max Kellerman and his continued shaft sucking of Ward? I mean, man, get over it. Gosh, boy, that irked me. I mean, talk about Barrera, man. But listen, I guess because now that HBO has lost Pacquiao, they've lost Lomachenko, they've lost Terrence Crawford, I guess Max has to jock someone. But man, give me a break. So Sully, we found out later on that Joe Smith Jr. had a broken jaw, and Jack Reese, the referee, he kind of went to his corner. It was weird. He was like, "Joe, you okay? I mean, you're not fighting like yourself." And at first I was upset, like, what is this old boy network stuff? But then I realized he knows he's a referee, and I can't stand Jack Reese. Don't get me wrong, but he's a referee who understands who the fighters are, and he knows Smith enough to know something wasn't going on. And I guess it was a safety question more than anything. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, even though when I've done that with Reese before, he's let me down. But he had a broken jaw, and I'm looking at his corner now, and I'm like, look, do you know that this guy has a broken jaw? If so, if you care about the kid, he's still young. If you care about him, stop the fight, man. He's going to get his paycheck. Like, what are you guys doing? They had to know. Let him live to fight another day. So, for Barrera, you got Sergey Kovalev out there, and it's an easy way for main events to recoup some of the money they lost in Kovalev's last fight, and also to keep everything in-house since they promote both Barrera and Kovalev. You also got Marcus Brown out there, Donna Stevenson, but that could be a problem, and more on that a little bit later. Let's move on to the Fox card. Starting with the main event. Omar Figueroa scored a third-round technical knockout of Robert Guerrero. Figueroa is a former lightweight champion, and he dropped the Ghost 5 times in what turns out to be Guerrero's final fight. At least we believe it is. And Guerrero, I mean, he came out looking sharp, and he took the first round by pretty much pressing the action against Figueroa. However, Figueroa just controlled the inside, and he just landed uppercuts to Guerrero that in the past wouldn't have backed Guerrero up or stopped him from coming forward and just punching. He would eat shots like that for breakfast. So, but on Saturday night, Figueroa controlled the inside. Ghost showed the heart of a champion. He kind of fought back big time, but once again, he found himself on the canvas a couple of more times. He came out and got Figueroa against the ropes, had him in a little bit of trouble. And in the third round, got dropped and then took a big shot to the body, and it caused the referee to stop the fight. Now, either Omar Figueroa's gloves were loaded, or Robert the Ghost Guerrero has lost his punch tolerance. And the second one is more than likely than the first one. And he felt it was time to retire. So, retirement, great career by Ghost. And let me just add, there are a lot of ignorant fans talking about how Guerrero was a bum. He was never that good. And listen, these are fanboys of guys like Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, who, when they retire, everyone's going to offer a synopsis. They're going to offer a synopsis of each guy's career. Talk about their history, the good, the bad, whatever. But Guerrero's a bum. Half of these guys didn't know who Robert Guerrero was 3 years ago. Or let's say before the Andre Berchelt fight. Most people don't know. They see this style that he picked up when he decided to skip a weight class and move to welterweight. They're just fans who are not just ignorant. I mean, let's add a little accent to that. They're ignoramuses. I mean, when Mayweather retires, everybody's going to just talk about the career, whether you believe cherry picker or whatever. But everybody's going to give their biopic, if you will. Same with Manny Pacquiao. Same with Roy Jones Jr., Evander Holyfield. Well, I got news, folks. Robert Guerrero deserves the same respect. Not just he sucks. He's washed up. He's a bum. Robert, this really upset me when I saw some of the comments of these fanboys out here who can't tell you the difference between a left hook and a fish hook. I mean, come on. Robert, you know, he's always been respectful to everybody in any interview. He's never disrespected someone trying to interview him or any opponent that he talked about. Robert used to talk about how much work he had to do in the gym for many, many years because he wasn't blessed with the natural gifts that many other boxers have. But he would always add that as much work as he did all those years, it paled in comparison with the work that he had to do to support his wife through her cancer ordeal. And he took some time off. He took quite a bit of time off, and I'm sure he contemplated not fighting again. And eventually his wife got better. He was still with her, supporting her, and then the hunger came back, and he started fighting again. Listen, folks, Robert Guerrero is a 4-time champion in 6 divisions. Okay? He was the IBF featherweight champion on 2 occasions. He was the WBA and WBO lightweight champion. Okay? I just I don't know. I just I'm I'm upset about the way, I mean, this dude has been nothing but a class act, and the way people treated him. I'm kind of going off. I mean, it's on topic, but it's off of what I should be doing in this video. But he was also the WBC welterweight champion too, or champion, I should say. All that other stuff about 6-time champion or 8-time champion, I mean, that stuff is debatable. You had your interim and what have you. I get it. But it doesn't matter. He had an awesome career. You see, I knew the Robert Guerrero who fought Eric Mighty Mouse Aiken when nobody wanted to fight him. And he took that IBF belt from him when he took Aiken's body away from him and made him quit. Aiken was fast. He was just a problem. And Guerrero said, I'll fight him. And that inside body work that he did, that he attempted to do with Omar Figueroa, let me tell you something. Omar Figueroa wouldn't have made it to the 5th round if he fought the Ghost in his prime. Prime for prime. And so he took the IBF belt and after making Aiken quit. And that fight was fought at 122 pounds. Yeah. See, people don't know he started out that low in their weight because they say he's a bum. They don't understand. Then he fought Orlando Salido and he lost, but then Salido got popped for drugs in his system. So that fight became a no contest. And if boxing wasn't so crooked, Guerrero would have got his belt back. But what boxing does is they stripped Salido and vacated the belt. And so now, I mean, that's just how it works. I remember when Robert Guerrero stopped Jason Litzau, when Litzau was a guy that people were ducking because he was up and coming and he had game. I mean, he could box. Then he fought Yoel Casamayor and Michael Casitas and beat both of them. See, Robert Guerrero never took the easy way. He came up the hard way and he collected titles in the process. Then he moved up 2 weight classes. So he skipped junior welterweight or super lightweight, whatever you want to call it, and went up to 147, and he beat Selçuk Aydin and he beat Andre Berto when both guys were something. I mean, Aydin was undefeated and Berto had only 1 loss at the time, so that's when he fought them. With Guerrero, you could argue through 35 fights that he was undefeated. You could argue that at his 35th fight, he should be 35-0. There were some no contests. There was that old Yardan fight where it ended early, headbutt, and then of course the Salido. I kind of knew when he wasn't breaking Salido down, when he was fighting the way he usually fights, I said, okay. And then when they popped Salido for the drugs, I'm like, yeah, had to be. So, but seriously, you can argue that he was 35-0. I mean, I truly believe he could have been. And his resume has some solid fighters on it. You got to take it for what it was when it happened. Robert Guerrero deserves better than these casual fans out here saying that he's a bum. Best wishes, Robert Ghost Guerrero. Also on the undercard of Figueroa Guerrero, and Marcus Brown's scored a TKO in the second round over Shawnee Monahan. And Shawnee Monahan's record was built up, but it doesn't matter. He was undefeated. And to be honest, he should have... I'll get into that later. So a lot of supporters came out because Shawnee's from Long Beach, Long Island, which the fights took place in Long Island. And Marcus Brown, as I stated in the prior video, the guy, he has more tools in his tool chest, and he was too fast, too skilled for Shawnee. At least this version of Shawnee. Shawnee's almost 36 years old. He's been off about 8 months. Not his fault. He thought he had fights lined up with Andre Ward. Ward became a diva, and then he had a fight lined up with Adonis Stevenson, but that turned out to be a hoax. No surprise there. So Shawnee will be back. The clock is ticking, and this loss may have knocked him out of title contention, title shot contention, unless Premier does one of their things where they get a guy an opportunity that he kind of didn't earn. On the flip side, Marcus Brown he's ready to step up. It's time for him to step up. He had a questionable win over Kalidich. He had a win where he could have been disqualified against Thomas Top Dog Williams. So, but he has the tools. It's now, how's he going to do against the big boys? We'll see. So, a couple big right hooks. Referee jumped in, and that was that. I like both guys, and they like each other. They're friends, so we'll see. Stay tuned to see which direction both go next. Another undercard fight. Heavyweight division. And this is a fight where, well, it was Adam KOWNACKI scoring a 4th round TKO over Ortiz Bilka. And I got a question what Ortiz Bilka was doing. I don't know what he was doing. It was clearly a case of a guy who has some talent and had more talent than the other, but the other guy just said, I'm going to keep coming and apply pressure that's going to try to burst the pipe. And that's what it did. Adam KOWNACKI, even though it looks a certain way, it's pronounced KOWNACKI. He reminds me of George Foreman. And I'm not talking about the George Foreman at Fort Ron Lyle or Muhammad Ali. I'm talking about big George Foreman. I mean, this guy has some of the slowest hands I've seen since who knows when, probably since big George Foreman. He just kept coming though. The body shots that he threw. Spilka, I'm like Ronnie, okay, Shields, who was his trainer. Like, I don't know what he was doing in there. And I say that if you ever watch Ronnie Shields in the corner, he's saying okay all the time. If on the undercard of BROWNE Garcia, if they show it, the corners in between rounds, Ronnie Shields is, okay, Jamal, this is what I want you to do, okay? You need to listen to me, okay? I want you to throw your jab, okay? Okay. I mean, that's his favorite word, okay? So, that's why I call him Ronnie, okay, Shields. Very good trainer. one of the best out there, and he's confused. He's like bewildered on why Bilka fought that way, dropped his hands, played the ropes. He just didn't understand. And Kanaskie is just. Let me say one thing. Speaking of Kanaskie, his nickname is Babyface, and there were 7,000. What was my count? 7,492 fans, I believe, at the arena. And I swear to you, it seemed like 2,000 of the 7,400 were Kanaskie fans. They had red t-shirts on that said Babyface. And they were beyond loud. The arena, I'll give you an example. The arena seats 13,000 people for ice hockey, 13,500 for basketball, 14,500 for concerts. So the attendance was 7,492. So that's like half of the capacity, a little more than half. And I'm telling you, the place sounded like a packed Madison Square Garden. The loudest fight I've ever been to, as far as cheers are concerned, was Margarito Cotto 2, which was in Madison Square Garden. And I mean, when I say loud, when Miguel Cotto came out, and I understand the Puerto Rican fans wanted their revenge against Margarito, and Margarito he got cornrows done, and I'm telling you, he must have went to one of those spots in the Bronx, man, where the girl there was not one hair out of place. I mean, Margarito had the tightest cornrows ever. I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but the point I'm trying to make is they were loud. And when the fight ended and Kanaskie won, when the next fight started, which was the Browne versus Monahan, it's like 2,000 people disappeared. All the red shirts, they kind of followed Babyface, or whatever his name is, out. We'll call him Kanaskie or Adam. Was it Babyface? I think it was Babyface. Well, anyway, and they follow their guy. And speaking of Baby, I went up to what's his name? Baby Miller. Jarrell, is that what it? Jarrell Miller. And I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, man, how come the United States can't have fans like the Polish fans? And he was like, I was just saying the same thing to my partner. I mean, they supported him. And my man was there, Adamek, depending on what part of the world you're from. And the Polish came out, and there was one. They didn't do national anthems at the event, so the DJ between rounds, he played the Polish national anthem. So as the round was about to start, he had to cut the music off. So when he cut the music off, they sang for the fight. They sang 10 seconds into the next round. They finished singing the national anthem. I mean, not one person sat down and had a red shirt on. It just was amazing. So, boy, I've been talking long. I'm at the almost the 35-minute mark. So let me move on. But great support for him. There's a rumor that Deontay Wilder and Louis Ortiz may be fighting at Barclays Center in November. They're saying that it's close to being signed. I don't know if that's an interim fight for both guys before then. The reason I say that is Wilder could be catching Ortiz at the right time. Ortiz is old. He has not fought in a year. And if there's going to be interim fight, that would be good for both guys, I would think. And if so, I guarantee you that Adam Kanaskie will be the guy to fight Deontay Wilder. He's slow. He can't move that well around the ring, not like Wilder's Pernell Whitaker or anything. But they can bill it like, wow, he destroyed Spilka in 4 rounds. Deontay, it took you double that time to get Spilka out of there, and Spilka was ahead on some people's cards. Even though the official judges, oh my God, had Wilder up by 4. I still don't follow that, but so they'll build him up as an undefeated killer who got Spilka out early. If I'm Team Wilder, I'm careful, and if there's no interim fight, then go ahead straight to King Kong Ortiz, because Kanaskie is as low as I am on him. I'm not high on him at all. You got to be careful with Deontay Wilder, and they have been. So let's put it that way. So now, if that does happen, though, it looks like Berman Stavern is out of the picture. So we'll see. We'll see. Danny Garcia was at the fight. Wouldn't be shocked if he fought Figueroa. Now, here's what the WBC is talking about doing. They're talking about ordering Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia. And a lot of folks, oh yeah, I'm excited. I really want to see that fight. I'm excited about it. I'm not. Look, I don't want to see that. The next fight for Sean Porter, if it's not a straight up layup just to stay busy, should be Keith Thurman. It was a very debatable win by Thurman the first time they fought. If there were 11,000 fans in Barclay, 8,000 booed the decision. And they didn't have any stake in either fighter. And then if you thought maybe they just booed the decision or what have you, as Keith Thurman did his post-fight interview, they continued to boo. So, translation, they thought Porter won the fight live. Watching it and listening to the announcers calling it one way, of course, the average fan is going to say, well, Thurman won. While Thurman, people's reasoning is that Thurman landed the cleaner shots. He did in certain rounds, but he got beat up during the fight. So, what do you want? What do you take? Some crisp shots in certain rounds or getting beat up for the majority of the others? So, depending on what you want, but what fans saw live was a Porter victory. I'm not going to argue with anybody who had Thurman. I mean, it wasn't a blowout either way. So, and that leads me to what I was saying earlier about SULLY Barrera fighting maybe Marcus Brown or Adonis Stevenson. Boxing has not changed. See, a lot of people have the wool pulled over their eyes. Boxing is no different this year than it's been any other year. We've got some good matchups, so people are like, man, why are you always complaining? Because I've been in the game and been watching it for so long. It's the same political BS going on now. You notice it's Porter versus Thurman, or Porter versus Garcia, or Lamont Cheaterson versus Thurman for one of the belts. This is all Premier. Top Rank doesn't have anybody at 147. They got Timothy Bradley. They got Manny Pacquiao. Golden Boy doesn't have anybody at 147. I mean, so you're still keeping things in-house. You understand? A Rock Nation guy and Andre Ward more than likely is not going to fight an Adonis Stevenson unless we're talking cash out for Stevenson, because they don't do business together. Golden Boy doesn't do business with Premier. Rock Nation probably won't do business with Main Events anymore. But the point is, why can't we have SULLY Barrera versus Marcus Brown, or SULLY Barrera versus Adonis Stevenson? Why does SULLY Barrera have to stay in-house and fight Sergey Kovayev? Why can't Kovayev fight Stevenson? You understand what I'm saying? It's like, don't be fooled because we've had some very good fights. Let's have some great fights. Let's mix in eventually a Terrence Crawford and an Errol Spence, or a Terrence Crawford and a Keith Thurman, or you understand what I'm saying? A Manny Pacquiao versus an Adrian Broner. Nah, it's like, so yes, we've had some good fights. If you want to throw the word great around for 2017, I won't, but if you want to, okay, we've had some great fights this year, but there's still better than great fights that could happen. So now what you've done is, there could have been an all Long Island matchup. It was supposed to be Joe Smith Jr., who lost, versus Shawnee Monahan, who lost. If you had that event like it should have been, and I know what happened behind the scenes. I know what happened. I know who told who not to make the fight. I get that. I don't need to say any names. Yeah, if you want to know, you do some research or email me. I already know the deal with that fight. It's unnatural. Instead of having 7,492 fans for Shawnee Monahan versus Joe Smith Jr., you would have had 11 to 13,000 people just to see those two alone, because it's a Long Island thing. Now they can still fight, but it's just not the same, because while Smith was on a hot streak, Shawnee was undefeated. It would have been a better sell. But because of politics, and I'll just say behind the scenes, I won't say exactly what happened. Maybe, no, keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut, Chip. I'm not going to say it, but we didn't get that. So we got two mismatches that may have looked good on paper, but whereas you put Monahan in there with Joe Smith Jr., and it's a war. It's toe to toe. Anyway, saw my man Sean George at the fight, former light heavyweight, cruiserweight. Sean George, if you look up Sean George, and it's Shaun, he is Sugar Ray Leonard. Look at his eyes. He just has Sugar Ray Leonard's eyes, especially if you see him fight live. He doesn't fight anymore. He's into other things. He's got some kids over in China that he's working with, and when he gets back to the States full time, he's going to be a trainer. But Sean George is Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, they have the same eyes. If I find a picture, I'll have it up right now or prior, right when I first said his name on the screen. I hope I can find a good picture of him. And he told me, I said, man, did anybody ever tell you had Ray Leonard's eyes? He said, man, I get it. I hear it all the time. And he said, I was fighting, I think he said out west or the Midwest some years ago. He's like, an old man came up to me. He was like, son, I'm sure you made your father proud. And he's thinking he's talking about his father. And then as the old man goes on, he's asking him, well, you know, what's Ray Leonard doing these days? And he's like, he didn't have a heart to tell the man that's not my father, but he said, you know, I really don't. He was like, I mean, he's doing this, doing that, but man, I tell you, everybody's got a twin. I'm not saying they're twins, but they got the same eyes. I swear. So we'll see what kind of news breaks on Wilder versus King Kong. Of course, we got we got Vasily Lomachenko August 5th on ESPN. We got Terrence Crawford August 19th on ESPN. We got Adrian Broner versus Mikey Garcia July 29th. And from, I don't want to say this wrong, is it from July 29th to the end of September, where it's just hot every week? I'm not sure. But you know, you got the circus, and you got Golovkin, and so on and so forth. So you guys stay tuned, and we'll catch you on the next one.